Hey folks, Dr. Emily here, and it is Ask Me Anything Day. Absolutely anything. So I hope you guys have brought your questions today. So I will begin with just sharing some amazing news and some awesome wins that we've been having inside the Tech Joy Career Academy. We have been having students getting job offers left and right. And in fact, our student that got an offer this week, ding, 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 highest ever for the Academy. Now, this individual had some prior experience, but 160K. I don't know if they're willing to let me share, so I'll keep it quiet. But we are just so excited. Oh my goodness. And in other news, we had one of our software clients is going live with beta testers, and the other one that we have that we've been working on getting ready for deployment is going up in just a little bit. So super excited to be sharing that with you guys. Just so much amazing success. And in fact, what we've been finding is that more students than ever have been getting job offers inside the Joy of Coding Academy and the Tech Joy Training Camp. Our Tech Joy Career Academy is our umbrella. And we are just so thrilled with all the amazing results that our students have been getting. And so we're super excited to share that with you today. I'm waiting for questions to come in. If you have any, please don't hesitate to pop them in there. I'm trying to think of some other questions that I've been hearing about, how to get prepared for that tech job that you've been dreaming about, for the tech job that you're looking for, right? Because, sometimes it's hard to know what the pathway looks like. There's so much out there. It's easy to get lost and confused when you're just getting started. You want to have that new tech career that you've been dreaming about, that quality of life, the remote living, getting to spend time with your loved ones, but then taking it that next step further, right? Of how do you actually make it happen? And sometimes it can be easy to get confused and not really know what your next step is. So the students inside the Joy of Coding Academy, we've got it dialed in. And so we are so grateful to have those students with us and to have them walking that pathway and to be able to provide that pathway, because that was something that I really struggled with too when I was learning. When I was just getting started, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't understand how to write code from scratch at all. And it was a real challenge because I didn't even feel comfortable applying for jobs yet, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do it. And so that was something that I really struggled with when I was first learning in my first computer science degree, because I tried to learn to code a number of ways. And when I was growing up, if you wanted a job, you went to college. If you wanted a good salary, right, you joined us in college. For those of you that are just joining, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to pop them in the chat. I'd love to answer them. And so when I was just getting started, I started trying to learn how to code myself back in high school. And I skipped a year of programming. Usually when they taught programming, it was a 2-year sequence. I skipped the first year because they happened to schedule it at the same time as my math class. And it was the only one for the math I was taking. So I had to take it. And so I skipped. And so then I took programming my senior year, and I had no clue what was going on. Oh my goodness. I would sit there in class, and I'll be honest, I copied off the kid in front of me. I didn't know what else to do. As a professor, I don't know if I should be sharing this, but that's literally what I did, because I had no other option. The teacher didn't really teach us. He just said, here, go build this thing. And then the kids around me just did it. And I was like, but I don't know how to build it. How do I build this thing? And so that took me a little bit. That took me a little bit to figure out. And so, but the kid in front of me, he was so kind, and he would try to explain it. Have you ever talked to an expert and they just know so much? Oh, but man, you can't understand a word they're saying. Am I right? So I was that person in class struggling to keep up and understand what was going on. And I was like, it's only high school. It's no big deal. I'll just figure it out in college. So I just delayed it. I just put it off. I was like, I'll figure it out later. And so I went to college and I majored in computer science, right? So I took these courses again. I was trying to figure it out. Oh gosh, if I didn't understand it again, I could kind of hack my way through the first couple of years. But then once we got to the advanced stuff, I didn't know what I was doing. And part of the challenge is that the professors weren't really asking me to write programs like a business would. And I knew this, like I knew I just couldn't sit down and write from scratch. If you handed me something, if the instructor said, here, do this homework, I could mostly solve it. Not all the way though, not all the way on my own. I really relied on my friends a lot. And in fact, that I, you can see in my learning to code, in my history of that, some of the elements that now show up in the Joy of Coding Academy. Copying off of others, it's not copying off of others, it's using a template and adapting that template to meet your needs. Learning from a community and asking peers and getting support and learning how to debug for yourself. These are all hallmarks of our program. Eventually, when I graduated college as a computer science student, I didn't even apply for jobs because I didn't have the confidence. To be honest, I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. My college degree, for some reason, prepped me on things that employers weren't looking for. And I didn't know what to do about it. So I didn't apply at all because I thought if I got the job, the worst that could happen is that they'd find out I was a fraud and they'd find out that I didn't know what I was doing. Meanwhile, the business industry had figured out that no computer science major knew what they were doing and planned to teach them. And in fact, when I sat next to someone who was involved in hiring in tech later on, a couple of years after this point, they said to me, oh, at least you knew that you didn't know what you were doing. Because it was worse when you had these computer science graduates getting straight A's coming into business and not having any clue how to actually code and do software development. So apparently it was better that I didn't know what I was doing, but was self-aware enough to know that I didn't know what I was doing. But for me, at the end of the day, I still wanted to know, how do I build cool software? How can I write code from scratch? And so I went to graduate school. Anyone ever do the same thing repeatedly over and over and over again? So I was like, more college, more university must be the answer, because clearly my first two educational experiences had worked out so well. But here's the thing. I went to college. I got a 4-year degree in computer science. And it wasn't like I didn't ace the classes. My final 2 years of college, I had a 4.0. I still didn't know what I was doing, right? So it would be one thing if I went there and I didn't do well and I didn't know what I was doing, but I had done well. I had done everything they had asked of me because the system was flawed, but I didn't see that yet. To be honest, I was afraid that I couldn't do it. I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience, being afraid when you hit a challenge like learning to code, being afraid that maybe it's you and maybe you can't do it. So that was my doubt. That was my fear. So I went to another college to hopefully show me that there was something wrong with my previous college that was the issue, not me, right? And I did actually answer that question. But it wasn't just my previous college. It was every university teaching computer science, or the system itself. Now, don't get me wrong. I am sure there are programs out there where the professors do a lovely and phenomenal job, but they're going to be hit or miss, right? You're going to be lucky if you get them, and you can't know going in if you're going to be lucky and get one of those professors. In fact, I used to be one, right? My students graduated getting 6-figure jobs left and right, and they always pointed to the learning experiences that I gave them, which I now give my Joy of Coding Academy students with our guaranteed internship program. And so now, our students get those experiences. So I've made it broader. So it's not just locked away in a college and university setting where you have to spend, 4 years and, tens of thousands of dollars to get this learning experience. And so eventually I did finally figure it out. And it wasn't that hard. Once at the end of the day, there's a couple key techniques that we teach our students in how to problem solve that you can apply to any coding problem, to the point where I'll have students bring me questions to coding languages I've never seen before, and I'm still able to help them because at the end of the day, they have the knowledge. It's the process. And so that's what we teach every student inside the TechJoy Career Academy is, what are those steps that make a master problem solver capable of solving anything? I know a lot of people say like, oh, ChatGPT is taking jobs, and it might be. And yes, is it having an impact in tech? Absolutely. Is it stealing jobs? Heck no. Because one of the biggest challenges in software development is defining what you want done and then confirming that it in fact does that. right? So that it doesn't go away because you still have to tell ChatGPT what it is you want it to do. And so, we find that with learning, it doesn't have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that challenging. There's a couple key techniques, and I will be honest though. Sometimes, have you guys ever found that, like, that when someone says, "Oh, you just do this," like maybe they give you directions to a store down the street, and it sounds so simple, and then you go to do it, you're like, "Wait, what? How did I get this wrong way? Like, how did I go over here? Am I in the right place?" Right? And so I can, in fact, I've given talks live in this group about what the 4 pillars of problem solving are and what the secret sauce is to make you an amazing software developer and problem solver capable of solving any tech challenge. And to be honest, I use these skills. In fact, I used them this weekend at a baptism for a for a little niece of mine, because their cable box was broken and they couldn't figure out how to stream the football games, right? And so I just applied the same problem solving that I apply every day. It doesn't matter if it's code or other technical systems, it's the problem solving technique. And I'll be honest, I can explain it to you in about 15 minutes or less. In fact, I think I have a series of videos where I do it maybe in 10 minutes. But to see it and recognize it in our lives and know how to adapt to it, how to use it to serve us, to serve our goals and the problems that we're trying to solve, that can take months. Not because the content isn't simple, but recognizing it and learning how to respond appropriately to move towards your goal, it can take time. It can take time. So typically it takes a good 6 months. It might 4 to 6 months to really get it. Some people are fortunate they get it more quickly. But again, the concepts themselves, you can explain them in just a few minutes, which to me is a sign of a really simple and insightful thing that's worth learning. If you can explain it very simply and quickly, but it takes you longer to really get it and apply it, right? It's because it's an essential principle that cross-cuts many different areas. So it's really worth learning. And absolutely, folks, if you're joining us, please don't hesitate to drop your questions in the chat. It is Ask Me Anything Day. So if you have a question about coding, about problem solving, about your tech career, drop it here and I'll do my best to answer. All right. In the meantime, I'm gonna keep sharing some awesome wins that we've been having. I couldn't believe it when I heard we had our top dollar student salary this week, 160K. I don't know if they're willing to share it, so I'm gonna keep them private, keep them anonymous. But oh my goodness, ding, 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 highest ever. Kudos, hats off. Super excited. And not only that, but we've been having student job offers all year long, every week. There's interviews every week, every month. There are offers, whether they're paid internships with a pathway to full-time or 160K, killer, amazing plum software development jobs. They're happening. They're happening for our students. And I know I've heard, some mixed feedback on the job hunt and on the job market, that the job market's been really tough, that no one's hiring. But to be honest, we haven't been seeing that. Like, there's always pockets of success too. Are people not hiring as much? Sure. But our tools are still effective even when people aren't hiring, right? And that's the test of when it's tried and true, right? Of when a program works, because it's easy when everybody's hiring. It's easy to have these great statistics and say, all of our students are getting jobs. But what happens when the market is a little bit slower? Are your students still getting jobs? And I'm so happy to share that in the Joy of Coding Academy, they are, which is super awesome. Adam, I love that name. That's so good. So we have a question. Let me see if I can share it. Which specialty can I share that? So I don't know. This particular position is based on this person's prior experience. So I don't know if I can share that per se. They're still staying in the program. They took advantage of our job hunt resources because they had prior experience, but this individual really wants to be a web developer. It wasn't a straight web dev position. And so they're staying on for the internship, even though they got this amazingly plum job. So super excited. The job hunt resources, they totally work, right? Like, it makes the difference. What we have. Great question, Adam. But I'm hoping, so I just found out today, it probably happened like maybe last week. And so I'm hoping that this particular individual may be willing to share with us. We'll see. We will see, right? I don't like to put any students on the spot. That's why sometimes we don't have as many testimonials out there as we have students placed in positions, because some people are private and we like to respect that. Okay. Awesome, Adam. I know. I don't really want to share yet until I've confirmed that it's okay with this individual. So I'm keeping it super anonymous, super anonymous until I've had that opportunity. Oh, so good. Questions, folks. We also had one of our other software client projects is going live. We've just successfully, completed, a second phase of the development. It looks amazing. It's incredible. And we can't wait to share it with the world. It's just in beta testing now, but once it goes a little bit broader live, we're going to share it with everybody. So with software development, just to kind of go off on that a little bit, I know some of you are looking to become software developers because that's where the big bucks are, 100K and up, right? I mean, there's tons of careers in tech where you can make between 40 to 120K. That's a pretty solid range. But if you want to go beyond that, right? The 150K, the 160K jobs, and up, what do you need? What skills do you need for that? And you really need software development skills, right? And showcasing your talents in that way. And so with software development, one of the things that we try to do is we don't release all at once. So one of the things we do in software development is we work on a team, and there's always a live version of the system running with live users, right? This is the world we live in now. And so how do we make updates? So as a software developer, we're always assuming that everything that can go wrong will. We just assume that there's things that are going to go wrong that we didn't anticipate. And so we have this totally pessimistic attitude, which helps us manage risk appropriately, right? And so in this software project, right now it's been handed out to maybe 6 users. So we're going to expand that circle of the client's choosing and get some beta testers, because we're assuming that we didn't anticipate something, and that when we get more users in there, more load, more uses, more functionality being executed, that something might go differently than we anticipate. Hopefully not, right? We follow industry standard best practices to mitigate those risks, to limit the functionality disruption if there was something that wasn't ideal. But at the end of the day, that's always a risk, even with professional developers, right? And we have a very, very clean development process, but we are working predominantly with green interns who, may or may not have experience doing this before, right? So there's little things that can come up. Our process catches most of them. We have an amazing process for checking and catching those things, but it can happen to anybody. Unanticipated changes, right? Unanticipated bugs and errors. And so what we do is we're going to release it to a smaller sample and just see how things go for a couple weeks. And then we're assuming we're going to find some bugs, right? And once those are found, then we'll expand it, and hopefully I'll get to share it with you guys in the group, because it looks incredible. It's so amazing. The client we have our own in-house designer, Bobe, is amazing, but she decided she wanted a slightly different vision. And so she found her own designer, someone she knew and was friends with, and they just took it up a notch. It's incredible. It looks so sleek, so warm and earthy. It's so essential to who she is. And so we're just super, super excited. Yeah, can't wait to share it with you guys. Can't wait to share it. Awesome. I see a question here, which is super awesome. Melissa, do you have any predictions for which areas of software development will see the most demand in the next year or two? Great question, Melissa. Oh my goodness. So, web and mobile development are fairly safe. They're always safe. But here is my caution, right? Is that at the end of the day, that you want the emphasis to be on your skills, right? Because we know that technology is going to change. We know it's just going to keep evolving, keep going. It's going to keep doing stuff. So we want to focus on those essential skills that aren't going to change the technology. That's our focus for learning. Now, once we go to get on the job market, we're going to want to showcase those skills in whatever tech stack is being hired right now. And here's the thing. Once software has been created, it almost never dies. it is almost never worth the investment to rewrite it into something new. Why do I share that? It's because any language that has been popular stays popular. You can get jobs as a Java programmer. You can get jobs as a COBOL programmer, right? There's not as many of them, so not as many people go into it. But literally, the people that know that language are dying. I get requests from people asking if I know any COBOL programmers. Unfortunately, the ones I know are also the same age of the people working the systems right now, right? They're looking for, a few younger people. Ideally, you'd want to rewrite that software system into a more modern language, but that's a very expensive proposition. And so most languages have stayed. There's still C sharp jobs. There's still ASP jobs. There's still C jobs, right? Like it doesn't matter what the language is, JavaScript, PHP, Python. So one of the things you can do is you can look for growth of there's links out there for what's the most popular language. We could go find some now. We could probably Google 10 of them. But the jobs don't change that fast because the companies can't reinvest in rewriting their code that fast. So all the jobs that are here now, those languages will be here in 2 years. Typically, the latest languages are less likely to be hired because you already have this huge market share and investment in some other framework and tech stack. The new stuff that comes out is typically reserved for new projects or one-offs. And then if a company sees it's really cool, maybe they'll start systematically shifting over to it. Or a startup might go in that direction, but they never truly die, right? Like you don't often hear people creating, new startups in Ruby on Rails. I'm sure they still do. And it's still a very employable, popular language, but you're not going to see like new companies necessarily going that direction. They might, right? If they have a tech founder, right? It just depends. So what areas of software do I will see the most demand? Definitely web and mobile, right? Cloud is becoming huge. I would say knowledge of cloud is really helpful because that's where everything is going. But again, it's going to also be local, Melissa. I know I've mentioned this before. It's going to be local to where you are. So making sure to check your local listings, right? Like for instance, I'm outside of New York City. So there's a certain tech culture in my area. We have a lot of, big pharmaceuticals. So data science, medicine, right? These are going to be hotter areas for us. We also have plenty of startups, right? In New York City. So there's going to be tons of jobs there. But, each of you is in a local area. When you're getting your first position, it's going to be easier to do a local job search, even if it's a remote position that you're looking for, because there's way less competition for local jobs. And you might not know this, but companies can't hire across state lines unless they've taken the time to be allowed to hire in that state. And so sometimes there are limitations in the HR of the company itself that they can't just hire willy-nilly in any state. They might only be approved to hire in a couple. Trust me, it's actually much more difficult, a lot more time consuming to hire people in other states than where your business is based. And so you want to check out your local market so that you can really see what positions are hiring now. And it's safe to bet they'll be hiring in the next year or so because software languages don't change that fast, if that makes sense. Like if they're hiring in JavaScript locally now, they're going to be hiring locally in JavaScript in a couple of years. What I find is that the focus of the languages that are being hired for is actually market dependent. What the heck does that mean? Like if you're in San Francisco or New York, you might have different tech stacks than like Atlanta or Boston, right? Because they're tech communities and people meet up and they meet together and they talk amongst themselves. So one company starts doing one thing and the developers become like almost evangelists for it. They're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. You guys have to try it. And then it starts to permeate, right? Oh, Joe said this is good. Let's try it, right? And so then you end up with these pockets. Like there's a lot of C# jobs in this area, or a lot of Java jobs in this area, for instance. So I would really check it. My recommendation is to check out your local area, Melissa, in like a 2 to 4 hour radius, any metro area in a commutable distance, like even if it was just once a week or once a month. Just check what's being hired for and see what excites you, right? At the end of the day. It doesn't matter so much, what tech language it is. I mean, it does to the company. So you want to make sure that you can learn it and that you know enough to pass the interview process. But I'm teaching you to become a lifelong learner. So you're going to be able to handle any of it. So really, what makes you sing? What gets you excited? What gets you really excited about tech? Because the last thing we'd want to have you do is get in a job and then hate it. That would be misery, right? And I know it's hard because you're looking at that salary and thinking, oh, well, I'd take a job I don't like for a little while just for that salary. But to be honest, as soon as you have the salary, right? Are you really happy? Right? So we want to make sure we're making both of those choices, that it's the compensation that you want, but also it's fulfilling work that you enjoy. Because once your needs are met with that higher salary, then you'll start getting restless feet and be like, what's next? Right? So you want to get a job you can stay at for a good year or two before moving on. Great question. Oh my goodness, Adam. Fortran is back in the top 10. Oh my goodness. So much fun. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Fortran's always been high because of its use in scientific programming. I worked with someone in graduate school who used like this special hardware to make copying data in Fortran like super fast, and it allowed them to run some fancy pants physics computation like super fast, faster than anyone else. It's pretty cool. So, but it's used all the time. Like NASA lives on this stuff. That PhD student, graduate student I worked with, he's now at Oak Ridge National Laboratories working on climate change or whatever the focus of his research team is. But no, like these languages, they come and go in terms of popularity, but they never die ever. Like the ATM networks that we use every day, they're still built. I think it was COBOL. Right? The telephone switches are still the same switches. They've been updated the tech and replaced the hardware, but it's the same telephone switching system since the 1950s, right? Like we've just added digital stuff on top of it. So yeah, I would focus on what you really enjoy. I don't think it's the language. I'm just personally, right? Like I don't recommend you want to become the go-to person for something. Maybe it's a language, maybe it's a library, maybe it's how you use technology to solve a certain set of problems. Kind of differentiating yourself though, so you're like the person that they go to. I've heard that technologists have had some really great success being the person, like the one person that everybody goes to for this problem, because then everybody comes to you, you get known, and you're way less likely to get released and let go, right? Because at the end of the day, I almost think it's more about how do you become layoff proof, right? So you can choose what job you go to and not get surprised and blindsided. And that's what we're teaching you here, right? In the Joy of Coding Academy is how do I problem solve? How can I solve any tech challenge that comes my way? So how do you learn any language, right? You have to have the foundations, those fundamentals so you can. Great questions, folks. Oh my goodness, such good questions. So I don't see any others. If you do have any other questions, drop them in the chat. It's Ask Me Emily Day. Oh my goodness, so much fun, folks. And we've just been having such amazing wins. For those of you that are students inside the Academy, stay tuned. We're going to start trying to share some of these amazing wins our students have been having, because we've been sharing them internally, and we need to get them out so you guys can see them too. So stay tuned. We're going to start broadcasting those and sharing those more broadly. And we've just been having amazing, amazing changes in the Academy. We're adding sessions, right? We're adding a career strategy session, which I'm super excited about for all Training Camp and Joy of Coding Academy students, in addition to our resume and LinkedIn session. So super, super excited. Awesome sauce, folks. You have been amazing. Congrats to you for showing up for you today, right? To invest in yourself and in your future. And if there's anything at all I can do to help at all, Dr. Emily's here. You can reach out to me on Facebook. You can text us. You've probably gotten texts from us in the past. And we're super excited. We've got an upcoming masterclass on October 24th. I can drop the link to that here. Let me see how fast I can type. confidentcoder.com. You can sign up, where I'll walk you through exactly what goes into getting a tech job, and what training is required. It takes about 6 months. It's sometimes longer. We usually, suggest students allow 6 to 12 months, but it can happen as little as 6 months. In fact, my fastest student got a job offer in 2 weeks, right? So, but most students on average are between 6 to 12 months. Please come and join us. It'll be a live workshop on Zoom. and a live masterclass on October 24th. And then we have another resume workshop coming up on Saturday, November 2nd. All right, folks, super awesome. Oh, CVMP, let's see. I can relate the fear, the discouraging of not understanding the whole system and how it would work. Yeah. Should I engage in any group without knowing what it really is just to get the ideas? For sure. You can engage in our group anytime you want. That's awesome. And actually, it's a really interesting point that you raised, CVMP, because that was actually something that is a challenge that most software developers face. Because when we first learn how to code, we're learning how to write small codes, right? 5, 10 lines, maybe 100 if it's big, right? Maybe 100 lines. But then you walk into a software system. Like when you get a job as a 6-figure software developer, you're walking into a software system that is tens of thousands of lines of code, potentially hundreds to millions of lines of code. Windows is, 47 million lines of code. Crazy, right? That's huge. When I was in graduate school, I was looking at small pieces of software systems that were 20 to 30,000 lines. By industry standards, those are small. So the thing with software development is you actually can't learn the whole system. If you insist on learning the whole system, you will never make it as a software developer, right? So becoming a software developer is also about learning when you have enough information to move forward, right? In school, they teach us learn everything, read the whole book, do every chapter, do every homework. But as a software developer, it's just as important to know when not to learn, when to stop learning, as it is of when to go deeper into our learning, right? And so that's one of the skills that we teach inside the academy is how can you understand just a snapshot of the system versus the whole thing and still make correct and effective change. And in fact, it can be really easy because you can borrow and use a template from other parts of the system. So you can still make correct changes that fit the overall architecture of the system without fully understanding the whole thing yourself. It's crazy, right? You need to understand enough, but you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. You get to borrow. So that's really, really awesome. So that's definitely something that we teach. And you can absolutely engage in this group if you'd like. I think you're on YouTube. Feel free to join us inside the Facebook group. I don't know if the link, you can probably get the link there. I'm sure there's a link somewhere that we can get to you. Let me see if I can get, here we go. Let's see. I'm going to check this out for myself first and make sure I'm giving you the right link. This looks like, yes, here we go. Here's a short link for you, CVP. So here's a link to our Facebook group if you want to engage with us. You can absolutely just get ideas. That's super awesome. Adam is asking about the Earn While We Learn session. So I just sent an email today with our Tech Tuesday live schedule for the rest of the month. And we are going to host that on Tuesday, October 29th with Joy of Coding Academy student Sam Crow, who was earning while learning before he even joined the academy. So we're going to walk you through that. We're going to introduce it in the Facebook group in the live, and then inside the academy, we're going to do a more extended tutorial with Sam, to help walk us through exactly what that looks like. Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. Oh yeah, CVP. Yeah, please jump on into the group, give us a shout out. We're happy to help. And we have a bunch of free resources kicking around. We're happy to share any way that we can. Super awesome, folks. All right, sweet. But yes, so good, guys. Awesome questions. Oh my goodness, so good. I love it. Super awesome. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for joining today. And don't be a stranger. Keep us, keep sharing. And CVP, you're welcome to join us inside the Facebook group. We hang out, we share challenges as well as tips every week. And so we'd love to support you on your journey. All right, folks. And again, if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can text me, you can message me in Facebook land, on Messenger, Instagram. I should also see, I might even see TikTok, or LinkedIn, whatever platform you're on. Just don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll do everything we can to help support you on your way and getting that next tech career that you've been looking for. All right, folks, have a great rest of your day. I will talk soon. Have a good one.